Hey, welcome to part 6 of the behind the scenes of how I built the 10-gallon Dripwall terrarium. In this video we're going to complete the build by adding gravel, rocks, and plants. This actually is the final video of the series of how I made the tank, but there will be additional status update videos, so be sure and subscribe. Alright, it's time to talk about one of my favorite things, and likely one of your favorite things if you're here watching this video, and that is plants. This is a liverwort called Riccia, and it is an aquarium plant that people often grow, but it also is a marsh plant or a wetland plant that can grow on wet soil and wet substrates like wood and so forth. So I knew that I wanted to use Riccia for this tank because number one, it loves to be wet and humid. Number two, it grows quite fast compared to most other liverworts and mosses. I was able to find a bunch of this on sale on eBay from a seller, so I purchased quite a bit. I cut up the Riccia with a knife and chopped it into small little particles, and then I could smear that onto the hygralon, which is what I'm going to show you right now. So this is the hygralon on the wall of the tank. And if there was an area of Riccia that grew in quite a bit, but other areas were not growing in as much, I would pull a little bit off of the area that was growing better and fill in the areas that were not. Therefore, over a period of weeks, I was able to get good coverage on the walls all across the tank. The plants that you see in this bin are in the genus Bucephalandra. These are what is called a rheophytic type of plant. They grow in waterfalls and streams and areas with a lot of water flow. They're also amphibious, meaning that they can grow above water in an immersed state or below water in a submerged state. So people grow these in aquariums, but also terrariums in an immersed state like I'm going to be doing here. I chose Bucephalandra for this tank because number one, I think they're a really attractive plant. Number two, I knew that because of the conditions that they grow in nature, it would be a good match for this drip tank. Number three, they're a compact plant. And number four, they're slow growing, so I knew that they would be a good fit for this smaller 10-gallon. I used about 30 or 40% of the plants in this bin for the drip tank, and then the other ones are kept for my personal collection. Now I'm going to show you a video that I shot just after I planted the tank with Riccia and with Bucephalandra, and then there will be additional planting later. I'm not going to say anything while I'm playing the video because I just want you to be able to hear the dripping sounds and enjoy the layout of the tank and see everything, and then I'll go into a little bit of detail about some of the finer points of the design. I'd like to make a few points about the layout and the planting. This root right here, I ended up taking that out after a while because it just didn't look right to me. The color was a little bit different, and additionally the placement and just the way the visual flow went, it just didn't really match for me, so I ended up pulling that out. Another thing I want to point out about the planting is that I specifically wanted to use a lot of Bucephalandra that were similar in size and similar in leaf shape. They're a little bit different varieties, like these ones right here and these ones right here and these ones right here are different than these ones up here, but in general they're all similarly shaped and sized, and I did that specifically because I wanted it to be a more simplistic planting that looks more natural, as if there had been a long period of time that a plant had grown into a naturalized fashion. I didn't want to do all kinds of different species and different shapes and sizes. I just thought it would look clean this way. Additionally, I planted some small pieces of Bucephalandra and rhizomes up here, and one of the techniques that you can use is to use a super glue gel. And I'll zoom in. You can see the gel. It's kind of like, because it's cured on there, it's a little bit of a white crust right there, and up in here it's a lighter color. Basically you just take some gel, squeeze it on there, and then you just press the rhizome of the plant into it and hold it there, you know, until the gel cures. Then what I did is I tried to put a little bit of Riccia liverwort on top of that and tried to conceal it as much as possible. And so I'll have clumps of Bucephalandra growing up onto the wall and up above the wood, and everything will look really nice. I did put a couple rocks up in here, and I tried to position them in a natural looking way so that it was kind of as if rocks had fallen down a hillside and got jammed into these crevices. So you can see that the wood and the wall kind of creates a spot right there where the rock just fits right in. And same with this one, there was a little kind of ledge that you can't quite see because of this plant. Later you'll see that I put some rocks and things down at the bottom of the tank so that it ties everything together. Here's a little close-up of some of the Bucephalandra. You can see I have some little pieces of the plant's rhizomes spread out up here so that it will fill in, and you can see that I have that rock jammed in that crevice there and kind of have a continuation of this clump down to that clump so it looks natural, like it had grown in around there. This is a little bit lower down in the tank, and you can see this ledge right here that I talked about, how I created that earlier and how I wanted that to wrap around from the wall over to the wood. And then I'm able to put some plants on there and kind of conceal everything and make it blend over into the wood and look natural. Okay, now we're looking down at the bottom of the tank after I put gravel in, put some rocks in, and planted some more Bucephalandra. I tried to use a variety of different sizes of rocks and a little bit of variation in color and shape as well to create a more natural appearance. So you can see I used a larger one here, then kind of a medium one, a smaller one, and then a few larger ones in different colors. And I stacked a few of them back in here to kind of block the view that goes back into where the bulkhead is so that you can't see that as much. And then also the water drips down over those rocks and looks really nice. And I used a few other Bucephalandra, some smaller ones with narrow leaves right here, and I planted some up on the wood up here, and I planted some on the side walls as well, in between the roots and the hygralon. And then to continue the visual flow, I put some more of the similar Bucephalandra, you know, the same ones that were higher up in the tank. I put some down here as well to continue that visual flow and tie everything together. Here are those ones on the side I was just talking about in between the roots, and there's one that I put on the actual piece of wood right on top. So eventually I'm hoping that the roots from that will grab around onto the wood and then it will create a clump up here. And right back here you can see through to the bulkhead. Here's a photo showing now that the tank has been growing in a while, and you can see that the Riccia is filling in quite a bit. So we can zoom in and you can see a lot of growth on that, and it's starting to fill in. And as mentioned earlier, when there was areas that were grown in more, I would pull a little bit off of that and then fill in the spots that weren't grown in as much. And so over a period of time, I was able to really fill that in quite quickly. And Riccia, as I mentioned, is a fast-growing plant as well. Here again is a wider shot with yet more growth of the Riccia, and it's really starting to fill in now. Here's a full tank shot and a couple detailed shots that are about 2 weeks later since the last photo that you just saw. The tank, as of the release of this video, is actually 3 months beyond the photos that you're seeing here. I'll continue to do update videos into the future, so make sure you subscribe, then hit the bell icon so you don't miss any notifications.